of what is happening. And how do we do that? By giving you information that you must or need to know concerning your life and that around you. Now, this morning, I'm going to be handling a very interesting topic that I know a number of Ugandans hear of it, may have just a drop in an ocean information, that is one, or may not have taken much interest to understand that sometimes you normally hear of it maybe when a water accident has happened or something like that. And this morning we want to handle issues of marine. I don't know how much your knowledge is, but I believe the panel of experts I have, by the closure, by the end of this show, you'll be very, very informed and know much regarding issues of the water or marines. Now, this morning I have, that is Ruzige Charles, who happens to be the Acting Commissioner, Maritime Administration, Ministry of Works and Transport, at the extreme end. You're most welcome, Charles.
Thank you, Robert.
And just next to Charles, I have John Leon Sengendo, who happens to be the Head of Public Relations and Communications, Uganda Railways Corporation. You're most welcome, John.
Thank you, Robert.
And just next to me is Oliver Van P, who happens to be the CEO, Nyanza Evergreen Waterways. You're most welcome.
Morning, Robert. Thank you.
Now, with that introduction, it explains that when you are going to discuss issues of marines, sure, I have what it takes to have that information that you need. And I want to first start it with Charles. Charles, help us understand when we talk about issues regarding, in one way or the other, issues regarding that is marine. What basically are we referring to?
Good evening, viewers. Maybe they have already introduced me, but I'm called Charles Ruzige, Acting Commissioner, Maritime Administration in the Ministry of Works and Transport. Maritime Administration is a department within the Ministry of Works and Transport responsible for water regulation and policy formulation. When we talk about marine or maritime, we are referring to anything related to water trade, water transport, and all business that goes on around the water, including fishing, including other related activities that go on within what? Within water transport. Uganda is not a coastal state, but we are endowed with a number of water bodies, inland water bodies. And one of them, which is Lake Victoria, is the second largest in the world. So by virtue of the size of water area in our country, we belong to the global maritime society. And therefore, we need to understand that like over 90% of trade is delivered through water transport. Over 90%. The goods we receive from our coastal ports come through, but when they arrive, much of it again is transported through water to Kampala. So water is an important resource for us as a country. There are so many things that we do under water transport as regulators. But most importantly, we try to formulate policies that help to make sure that the activities go on as standardized, are well regulated for purposes of safety of the activities that go on in the what? In the water transport, but also to make sure that we meet the international standards. But besides this, we also make sure that whatever activities we are doing for purposes of making sure that our water bodies are really secure.
Okay.
Secure in terms of prevention of pollution, because the activities that go on within our waters come with a lot of pollution, in terms of oil pollution, in terms of waste pollution, and other noxious substances. So we regulate all that.
Well, that well said. Now, this brings me to ask John, what is the connection between marine and Uganda Railways? I see you're really into this, but for the benefit of our viewers to better understand, what is the connectivity?
Thank you, Robert, and thank you, Charles, for that submission. Uganda Railways Corporation and our mandate, in line with our mandate, we provide marine, railway, and road services, road transport services to the business community. Like Charles has said, Uganda is endowed with water, yeah, that is ideal to transport cargo cheaply and effectively from the ports. How we come in as Uganda Railways Corporation, we run vessels on those waters, big vessels that we use to transport cargo from the port of Kisumu to Port Bell and Kisumu to the Ginger Pier, but also from Mwanza to Port Bell and the Ginger Pier. But also we transport exports from Ugandan manufacturers to be sold out of this country. So as a corporation, that is how we come into marine. And like I've said, water transport is it's the cheapest. Let me say it point blank, it's the cheapest, but also very safe when we are transporting cargo. So that is really the linkage between marine regulation and us who provide rail services in this country. How rail connects to water is when you get to the port, let's say when you get to the Ginger Pier, that cargo is rolled onto rail and transported to the different industrial areas. Similarly, when imports are given to us, they are moved on rail and then rolled onto either MV Pamba or MV Kawa to be exported out of this country. And
I'm told MV Kawa is one of the largest water vessels.
Those two, Pamba and Kawa, are big. Each one takes 22 wagons. Those are roughly 880 tons. That is when we get into containers, those are 44 containers of 22 feet. Oh. So these vessels carry a lot of cargo effectively and cheaply to wherever it's supposed to be going.
Well, I know this is news to a number of our viewers hearing about it, but this is what we have. Now, this brings me to Van P. Van P, with experience regarding water, how would you grade Uganda? How are we performing in terms of utilizing our waters very well, in terms of movement, in terms of making money? What could be your assessment?
Thank you, Robert. My assessment is we are definitely on the right track in Uganda. Talking about cargo or passengers. Us as Nyanza, we saw a gap in the market. I grew up on the shores of Lake Victoria and have always seen this gap in the market. We have the second biggest lake in the world. Almost 25% of Uganda is covered by water, yet we do not use our bodies of water enough for transportation of cargo or passengers. So having seen this gap in the market, in 2019 we started with the first passenger boat, and it was a tough hill to climb because of the mentality of people in Uganda, which is understanding with all the accidents that we've had on our lake, on our rivers. People were and somehow still are fearing the water a bit. As they rightly said, water is one of the cheapest ways to transport passengers or cargo. One engine can take, as he says, almost 800 tons. And if it's done properly, if the safety aspect is the #1 priority, I do believe that there will be more people coming into the marine world, both privately and on the government side. They've made huge efforts. The Ministry of Works and Transport has really made huge efforts to try and improve the security on our lake, to try and regulate all of the boats in terms of certification. So we have been struggling with trying to show people that it's a safe way to travel on the water, to go and explore different parts of our country. SaFety Islands is one example. We have many different islands on our lake, which we simply either do not have access to, or the transportation services that are in place are not suited for the kind of clientele that wants to go there. Not only to go and do, for example, there's palm plantations on SaFety Islands, but there's also a lot of tourism that goes there. A lot of people, and I'm not talking about international tourism, I'm talking about local tourism, which is almost 90% of our clientele is local tourism. Ugandans wanting to go and visit the rest of their country, and with just a 1-hour boat ride, you feel like you're completely outside of Kampala, in another place. It gives you a holiday feeling, and this is what we try and bring to the table with Nyanza.
Well, that will explain. This brings me back to Charles. Now, Charles, I grew up not very close to water, but at least I knew one thing for sure. And since you talked about policy, is that high levels of unprofessionalism. For example, you'd get in the boat, and this is a person who grew up around the lake shores, so he's going to see you through. You know, it didn't require any level of professionalism to operate on our waters. I stand to be corrected. Someone says, my father was, my grandfather, this lake is ours. They even have terms. So that boy, you're in safe hands. They have grown up around the water. They can dive, they can swim. Maybe they can rescue you. So from that perspective, what steps have we done to ensure professionalization of the waters? We hear Marines. For us, we had people, if someone, maybe the worst happened, they'll give fishermen money. I think they're using their body to catch fish. You know, to what levels of professionalization have we gone into this?
Thank you, Robert. For starters, we must accept that Uganda is a young maritime state. In terms of being part of the global arrangement, because the maritime industry is a globally regulated, that we have at the top the International Maritime Organization, which is IMO, which is the United Nations agency that is responsible for the regulation of what? Of all regulation, setting guidelines to the safety standards of the maritime industry. So Uganda as a country became a member in 2007, just recently. That was one step in a positive direction to become what? A formal maritime state. And from becoming a member of IMO, Uganda as a country has gone ahead and ratified and also acceded to a number of conventions, about 8 of them. international conventions. And from that step, being a member and ratifying and acceding to conventions, we have gone ahead and domesticated these conventions into our national laws to help us do what? Now implement the various safety standards, pollution prevention activities in our country. And more so, recently, I think last year, we have been able to enact our own Inland Water Transport Act. It was actually assented to by the President in August last year. So now we have a law in place, an Inland Water Transport Law, from which we can have full mandate now to do what? To implement all these formal regulations to help us make sure that we do business formally. And after having this Inland Water Transport Act, we are now going ahead to formulate various regulations to now help us go ahead with the implementation of what? The registration of the registration of vessels, the licensing of vessels, the building standards of vessels, the enforcing other safety measures like putting on life jackets, the training of seafarers, people who man these boats, because they need to be trained. And these standards are set from the global perspective. And these guidelines are given from a global perspective. Now for us, once now we have a law and regulations, we need to put them into domestication, and we start implementing them. That if you are, for example, a captain of a vessel of a size of Kawa, which is operated by Uganda Railways Corporation, you must have these qualifications. If you are a chief officer who is supposed to do what? To be deputize the captain of a vessel of, say, 1,200 tons, the size of this Kawa, you must have these qualifications and experience. If you're a chief engineer who is supposed to operate the machinery of the what? Of a vessel of this tonnage, you must have these qualifications. You must have undergone certain training and gotten certificates that allow you to operate that vessel. And now we're on board. Now the vessels that are going on our waters are required to meet certain minimum standards established. So we are going forward to make sure that we really regulate the water transport.
Well, that is very interesting,
Yes.
and I know now that will create more in terms of safety, and of course bring more of people's desires, because they know they are safe.
Yes.
You know, moving on water is another complicated thing.
Yeah, sure.
People have that fear, but I believe with such policies in place. Now, this brings me to John. Let's talk about what we have. The MV Vanessa, what do we have as the country right now that our people can know that this is how far we've gone in terms of making strides in maritime?
I've spoken about the two vessels, Kawa and Pamba. Those are the ones that we have currently, but we have plans in the near future to acquire 2 new vessels. Now this will bring the number of these vessels to 4, yeah? And now that will increase the volumes of cargo we can move at a go. Yeah? So we have plans to add 2 more vessels, 2 more huge vessels like Kawa and Pamba, to really provide that much needed service, water service for the business people. Because so many business people, we've come to realize that they've got an interest in transporting their cargo on water because it's safer and it's cheaper. Yeah, they have enough money to keep in their pocket. So that's why we saw the need to add on the number of the vessels. that we currently serve to optimally serve the clients better. So currently that is the status, but like I've told you, we have plans to have more bigger vessels. For cargo, we haven't gone into transporting of humans. Currently we do only cargo.
Okay, now this brings me to Van P. We've talked about all the goodness in this. Cheaper, effective, policies in place. Let's look at the challenges. You're in this business. It may not be so much into cargo, but what are some of those challenges that are facing this industry?
So since we started Nyanza, first the main challenge that we had was COVID. That really hit us hard. We had just somehow started in this business. No one was allowed on our boats, or we had very strict regulations to follow, which he rightly mentioned. The Ministry of Works and Transport is really taking safety as a number one priority. They also know that this is also our number one priority. So COVID was the first challenge. The second challenge and the biggest one that we have now is the cost of fuel. The cost of fuel is really, it's hard for us to increase the price of our fares to the different locations that we go to. Yet we are paying a lot more for the fuel that we are putting in these boats. It is true that overall a boat can carry a lot more passengers or cargo and be able to move that with less fuel than, let's say, trucks on the road or buses on the road, but it's still a huge cost. This has been one of the biggest challenges. And then one other challenge, which is not a bad challenge, is the competition. Since we started opening up Kalangala since 2019, I think a lot of people have been going to the Sese Islands, discovering almost the 78 different islands that they have there. Some of them are still completely uninhabited. Now there's been quite a few competitors that have come onto the market, which obviously it's been a hit for our business, but we see this as a positive challenge. It means that more people are starting to come onto the market, which also means that they are doing it in a safe way, because otherwise they would not be on the water. So now we keep having to try and find different venues to bring people to different islands. We are currently trying to open up the different hotels and accommodations that are in Mukono at the moment. We moved one of our boats from Entebbe to Gaba to try and bring it closer to our clientele. Most of our clientele is in Kampala. Having the boats in Gaba is closer than Entebbe, and it opens up not only Mukono, but the plan is also and has always been to bring people to Jinja. We know that the expressway to Jinja is on the way. It's still going to take some time, and we're still struggling to get to Jinja. Only 80 kilometers from Kampala, and it can take you 3 hours if you don't choose your hours correctly. So having that option on the lake is something that we want to bring on the table, but it always takes people a bit of time to get used to it, and it costs a lot at the beginning, but once people trust and see that you are regular, that you are consistent, then they trust the product and they come. So those are some of the challenges that we face.
But briefly also, how are you coping up with the issue of fuel? How are you keeping in business? Because it's one of the issues you've raised here.
With a lot of difficulty, Robert. It's been tough. We've been trying to see how we can somehow get subsidies for fuel. It's not been easy. It's not been easy so far. We try and maximize the business that we can get. We try not to go too far also. but we are just hoping that at some point it can come back to a normal level. We don't see the light at the end of the tunnel yet, but we are staying hopeful.
Well, very interesting discussion here happening, but allow me to go for a short break. When I return, we will still be discussing more. In fact, we'll also look at the Association of the Marines and also let you know more regarding this and, of course, an event that is coming up. Let's return shortly.
It's back! After 2 years away, the Uganda International Trade Fair is back! The Uganda Manufacturers Association excitedly invites you to the 28th Uganda International Trade Fair from October 3rd to October 10th. Visit more than 1,000 manufacturers, traders, distributors, and business people from all sectors at the Uma Showgrounds in Lugogo. We are back to innovation, products, and world-class manufacturing excellence. Entrance fee is 10,000 shillings only. Select manufacturers will offer discounted prices of up to 50%. Enjoy live performances from your favorite artists as we celebrate 60 years of Uganda's independence. To book spares, call 0703 552 444.
Welcome back from that short break. Thank you for keeping it with us here on UBC TV, where we make sure we give you all the relevant information that you need to know about life. Now today we are handling issues of marine. That is what happens in our waters, mostly in terms of movement. And like I told you earlier, I have a number of guests in the studios, and we are now joined by Lillian Nakato, who happens to be a technical advisor, USAID stroke, SPCA, and John Hopkins Center for that is a commemoration of that is being with us this morning. And we are very interested to hear from her. Now, like I told you, we are going to be discussing more regarding the Marines Association. Earlier, I talked about professionalization and saying this is a sector where we greatly need professionals to be manning it because of the safety measures that are required. But also, Charles told us earlier that it's not only about Uganda, it's a global thing, and you must have these standards. Now, Lillian, to begin with, you're most welcome. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome.
And this takes me directly to issues regarding professionalism and an association. Now, just give us a brief history to how we know you're going to be launching this in Uganda very soon, but how did you come up with such an idea, you and your colleagues, to have an association of Marines in this country?
Okay, maybe to start with, my personal interest in the marine profession comes from a few relatives I had who were, one of them was a Marine captain and he died on job, and the vessel actually drowned and we were not even able to find his remains. And for quite some years, we've been wanting to get such people remembered, rewarded, but it's not possible. Now, as a team with others also who had some different levels of interest in the profession, we felt that maybe one of the key reasons why the profession is not getting the kind of recognition it deserves is because actually we lack some kind of umbrella association or platform that brings the different units of the profession into a cohesive working environment. In a sense, like my colleagues have been talking, we have those who are in water safety, we have those who are in the environmental health division, we have those who are in training professionals, we have those who are in the army, in the UPDF, those who are doing surveillance. Like the marine profession is quite large, but the different sections are not yet so cohesively built together to be able to leverage on the resources, like the skills, the competences, the platforms, like for the different interventions to be able to rejuvenate it and make it a functional force that can even be useful abroad in this country. we realized that the marine profession has people and uses skills that are very rare. They cannot be easily trained in. So that would be a very big resource for the nation, which can even be sold to other countries. The marine relative I was talking about was manning a ship in Mombasa, which is not Uganda. But we have very few young people now who know well about the profession, who are motivated to join the profession. So we thought that we need to come up with this umbrella or platform, and it's really timely. We work together. And maybe what I didn't mention, I don't work for the association. I'm a volunteer member of the association, but with deep commitment to see the association born, to see the association grow, to see the association contribute to national development, and also to see the association build us into a platform where we can even start to leverage on international resources, because yes, we are landlocked as a country, but we have a lot of water sources, and there's a lot of development activities that are happening on these water sources. So if the different segments work together, I think Uganda will be a better place to live in when it comes to the water, to the water transport, the water tourism, the water. There's a lot of things that happen around the waters, but we needed some kind of body that brings us together. So as a volunteer member, I participated in the team and provided them some technical support somewhere to see what will the association be like, what will it do, what value added will it add to the other departments, because we are never independent, and see the way forward. And for that reason, we've been working behind the curtains to see its launch. And on Thursday from 9 at Port Bell, we will launch this association, and we really invite members to come and be part of it and know more about it.
Well, I can't afford to miss that. Now, this brings me to Charles, who happens to be the acting commissioner, Maritime. Now, with such a broad vision, what interventions are you doing as a ministry? Because when you hear people on an individual basis and volunteers saying, yes, this is a step in the right direction that we must support, let's get it from your perspective as the line ministry.
Thank you very much, Robert. First of all, I'd like to appreciate the initiatives to come up with an association of marine, the Marine Association of Ugandans. Because, as I told you, Uganda has been quite a young state, maritime state. And many of our people in the maritime industry have been operating quite informally. The association, the Uganda Marine Association, will bring together a number of other smaller associations which have failed actually to stand up because of a number of challenges. For example, we have the association for coming up for seafarers, the associations for maritime institutions, there are supposed to be associations for shippers. There are supposed to be associations, because the maritime industry has so many sectors. So if we get an umbrella association, it will help to do what? To foster their cause. So I need to appreciate Madam Lydian for these efforts. And we as a ministry, we have come out straight to support, to declare our support for this association. Now, this association is being launched at a day when we have a World Maritime Day. As I told you, we are a global community. The International Maritime Organization every year organizes what we call a World Maritime Day. And this World Maritime Day comes on Thursday this week. And globally, the celebrations are going to be in South Africa. But individual member states are allowed to do their own simple celebrations in their own countries. This is in recognition of the efforts the seafarers put in and all the stakeholders in the maritime industry to make sure that the cause, the very many benefits of the maritime industry bring to the communities are recognized. In this kind of celebration, we normally recognize people who have done outstanding, very outstanding work for the industry, maybe in areas of rescue, maybe in areas of search and rescue, areas of training, and other competencies within the industry. So it is what? It is very important that we team up with these people on that day and make sure that publicity is done and people get to know what's going on. These developments are there. So you asked me a question about the interventions going on. We have several interventions going on. As I told you about the Inland Water Transport Law, currently we have, for example, a big project. It is it's called Multinational Lake Victoria Communication and Transport Project, and it has various components. But one of the components is search and rescue. This is now ongoing. Its implementation is ongoing. We have what we call, we have organized, we have built a call center, a search and rescue call center at Entebbe, and it is already operational. There is a code 110. We have partnered up with the media, with the network providers, MTN, UTL, and Airtel, that if you call 11, even if you call it now, the call center will pick it.
That's 110.
110. So that every person on the water who has entangles a problem or it requires any form of rescue will call 110, and they will be what? Responded to, and arrangements to rescue or to support this person will be made immediately. And that one is already what? Operational. So secondly, we have, it's a big project. We have a search and rescue coordination center. That one is going also to be built in Entebbe, a huge one. 3, we are building other search centers in various different places. On Lake Victoria, we have 5 locations where we are going to build search and rescue centers. Around 2 of them have already been commissioned for what? For construction. Others are still in the pipeline. Very soon they will also be commissioned because the project is already under implementation. This project is sponsored by African Development Bank, and it is a regional project involving our other neighbor countries sharing the lake with us, Kenya and Tanzania. So we have other call centers, search and rescue centers going to be built at Lake Albert, and also some at what? At Lake Choga. Lake Choga we shall have 1, Lake Albert we shall have 2. One at Kaiso, another one at Panyamuru. So the program to create search and rescue and ensure that the safety of the lake is actually assured is ongoing. And besides, we shall be able to purchase 9 search and rescue boats.
Okay.
To be placed in each of these search and rescue centers. And they are already in what? Under procurement.
That is very interesting for the safety.
Yeah,
if someone knows that, yes, in case of the worst happening,
yes,
then security is there.
Security is assured.
Well, in the interest of time, I'll now come to Van P. When we talk about water, do we have enough professionals? For you, an investor in this sector, do you have the professions that are required for this industry to thrive?
So it's not always easy to find the captains, the deckhands, the mechanics with the qualifications needed. The requirements that the Ministry of Works and Transport is now implementing on everyone on the water are indeed quite strict, and we are happy to see that, because as you said, there's quite a few people in the sector that have not done it as professionally, have tried to overload the boat, have tried to go at night, and people have paid with their lives with that. But now with the new requirements that are needed, the certifications are not easy to get. We either have to find people to come and train our staff here, or the other option is to send them to Mombasa or to Dar es Salaam, which is a very costly it's a very costly operation to have. But what we try and do with other boat owners and ship owners is we try and bring someone to come and give a training to a number of people, give the proper certification to be able to follow all of the rules and to make sure that the safety is again the number one priority on the lake.
Well, we hope we get
maybe
that.
for
yes,
information,
just a minute, yes.
One more thing under what he's saying. Under this same project, that we have the Fisheries Training Institute in Entebbe, and we are already refurbishing it under this project. And this will serve to provide training facilities for our seafarers. And
Well,
it's already
in the interest of time, let me have your final remarks from each of you, and I'll begin with you, Charles.
Thank you very much. We would like, first of all, to thank you, UBC, for giving us the opportunity to come here and give to the public what is happening in the maritime industry. Many people, as you said earlier, don't understand what goes on, but it is important to realize that the maritime industry, our maritime industry is going the right direction so far. And we have tried to put interventions. We want to professionalize the industry. The people who work there, the training, the certification, the standards of boats, everything, registration of vessels that operate, licensing of vessels, including the fishing vessels. Because when we talk of maritime, we are talking about transport, fishing, we are talking about tourism, and many other activities. They all need to be regulated and standardized so that there is safety of the people who operate and who use the water, but also we need to safeguard our waters in terms of pollution and the security. Because if you don't regulate security, there is a lot of insecurity. You have had around the other high seas, piracy, and other insecurity incidences. All those things are our responsibility as we come together, as we work together as partners in this industry to make sure there is safety.
Well, Lillian, having your final remarks more so regarding the event, and of course a message to others how they can be part of this great association, Bring Together Marines.
Okay. First of all, I want to thank the partners that have attended this session. There has been still even a lot of learning from what is already there, what we can bank on, how we can work with them. So as we prepare to launch the association, we have about 3 things that we think should be worked on in this year that we are starting. And one of them is to actually improve the corporate image of the profession. Many people are not aware. They have misconceptions about the profession, the common people out there. So work with the partners to see how we can maybe strengthen this. And then also kind of like through an alumni program, be able to get those who are already in the profession to reach out to the young ones and interest them in this profession whose service Uganda needs as much as possible, so that more people are aware. How do you go, where do you go for such a training? They don't know, you know. How long are the different trainings, you know? What are the career prospects of somebody who, you know, goes into the marine profession? And the other thing that we think we could also work on in the year is to strengthen the partnerships and the leverages so that it's so clear how do we contribute, for example, to the ministry's department, how do we contribute to the vessel owners and management program, how do we contribute to the surveillance activities that happen on the waters, to the environment, health and water safety and marine safety. So this year is kind of like building the foundation or the blocks to know exactly how to work with the partners, and then also by launching the association, we are kind of saying we need you partners. And the intention of that activity is to actually tell them about the association, work out ways for collaborating, networking, and also put in place strategic planned interventions that we will be accountable for. Like, we will not just keep telling the commissioner, you know, we intend to do this, but we want at the end of the year or even the 3 months to be able to go back and say, we are trying this, it's not maybe working, what do you think we could do better? This is what maybe we've been able to contribute to the others. Otherwise, I want to say the launch is going to be at Port Bell, starting at 9. Come all, come one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lillian Nakato. That is a volunteer member to the association that's going to be launched. Van P, let me have your final remarks.
Yeah, I'll be quick. I know you're running out of time. So first of all, I very much welcome this Maritime Association. As she very rightly said, we need to all be under the same umbrella. The water is not like the roads. When, yes, we have competitions, we are different players, but when you're in the water and you are stranded, we are all together and we all work together, whether the boat has to turn around or one day it's going to be us, another day it's someone else. We have to help each other on the water, and these kinds of association is really going to help us. And we hope that we can bring the different islands and places to see on the water closer to the people that are in Kampala or coming to visit Uganda, because we have a beautiful lake that we are not using enough, but we are in the right direction to do so.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Van P, Lillian Nakato, and of course our acting commissioner, that is Maritime Ministry of Works and Transport. Thank you so much. And my earlier guest, that was the PRO, that is Reres. Thank you so much for this time. And of course our viewers, thank you for being part of this show. And one thing that is clear, we have a lot of opportunity when it comes to our waters. But this must be done in a safe manner and well-regulated way. Have a lovely day. See you tomorrow.
UBC, inspiring Uganda. Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
Gatawo with MTN Momo Advance. Momo Advance tops up your Momo to complete your transaction.